Where do I even begin with something like this? Alright, for those that don't know who PayMoneyWubby is, so the real life version of Syndrome from The Incredibles made a video. I just found so many problems with what I was seeing in the comments that I wanted to do a video on it myself. For those that don't watch his videos, he does these sort of internet expose videos.
14. Take it back. And they're just doing weird sexual shit. I could talk about all these, you know, soulless human beings just making noise on the internet for easy cash grab. I have not heard really anybody talk about this, and it was so fucking weird, I just knew I had to say something.
Okay, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time discussing the Nikki Tutorials video because Wubby doesn't either, but here's the gist of it.
About Nikki Tutorials, who's a huge fucking YouTuber, 12.9 million subs, her video #1 on trending on YouTube, 26 nearly million views, announcing that she's trans. She managed to keep this private, 11 years on YouTube. Brave. That being said,
Alright, this is the part where I admit that I actually used to be a pretty avid watcher of Wubby's stream. This isn't a cancel video. I legitimately do want to further the discussion on this topic, and I think Wubby actually made a pretty compelling video to do so. So I'm going to use his video as a catalyst to talk about some of these issues, addressing some of the things I've seen online. I do apologize. The only microphone I have right now is this Bluetooth headset, so the audio quality might not be great, but that shouldn't be a problem in the future. Alright, so this video is going to be in 3 parts, going over the 3 main arguments Wubby puts forward. Transphobia labeling, trans people must reveal their identity up front, and trans identity is not valid if you adopt stereotypical characteristics of the gender. Alright, look. First of all, we have to get into something. We can talk all day about cancel culture and whether it's important or harmful or whatever to cancel people, cast them aside, but at the end of the day, words have meanings, right? And so we need to define what some of these words mean in this case, right? Specifically, transphobia. A lot of people feel as if being tolerant of trans people in their day-to-day life excludes them from transphobia. I just want to define the word real quick because it's not the case. Transphobia isn't necessarily a set of actions, but a set of ideals. Look, you can be averse to whatever characteristics about a person you want. If you are averse to the trans identity itself, that's transphobia, right? Like, you can not be into like big shoulders, that doesn't make you transphobic, but not being into trans people, that's transphobia. That's all it is.
In a community that is so quick to allow anyone to love who they prefer, they're very quick to label you transphobic if you don't love who they prefer.
Okay, this is something called the paradox of intolerance. You can look into it yourself. The TLDR version is, if you preach acceptance of beliefs, tolerance of beliefs, then you open yourself up to Nazis calling you a hypocrite for not accepting their beliefs. The trans community suggests that labeling people can be typically harmful, bathroom bills and whatnot. Wubby is arguing that being labeled transphobic itself is just as harmful. Now look, I agree that labels shouldn't necessarily just be thrown around and it can be harmful to label people things. However, in comparison to being labeled trans or transphobic, I will leave it up to Wubby to weigh out the arguments for why one is worse than the other or why they're comparable. And what evidence does he even put forward that this is happening?
The one thing I also see a lot of in the trans community is labeling other people. For example, trans women don't need to tell men they used to be a boy, just like they don't need to tell men they used to be a baby. Disagree? You're transphobic. That is quite literally labeling someone.
A single screenshot from a Blair White video? I mean, Blair White's not exactly the most emblematic member of the trans community, but even then, so what? Just one screenshot? He doesn't put forth any evidence because he knows that his less trans-friendly audience, they already believe him. Speaking of viewers, let's see what people are saying in the comments. Let's check out this discussion we're having.
Honestly, your consistency of opinions is what I love about you.
I completely reject trans women sexually cause I'm not gay. Trans women are men and I'm not gay, that's it. Not gay, not gay, not.
I like to clean house, therefore I have to cut piners.
If I married my wife and she came out to me that she was a guy, I'd murder her. I want kids, bitch.
Am I single? Am I unmarried? Fuck labels, let's get in a relationship anyway.
Can we have something like a base gender and a subgender? When you're born, you either have a penis or a vagina. It's physically there. Later in your life, you discovered that you are an emotionally or psychical, call it what you want. I can't find the right word, ATM, another gender. You were born MF, but you are now X. Easy as that. Cause it is getting too complicated with all those new genders. We need to have a base. The main ones. The primaries. XX and XY. The rest are secondaries. There is black and white. Everything in between are shades. Secondary.
Lol, this video didn't make it to the Reddit front page. I wonder why. F***ing Reddit, this doesn't fit their narrative.
Are trans people rather gentle souls, Earl? So why is always trans people stirring up so much drama on the internet?
They seem to have a pretty toxic community and for some reason think that acting like complete fuckknuckles on the internet is the best way to gain wider acceptance.
I'm going to be honest, I'm transphobic and homophobic. I really don't like how society is, TBH. Disagree with me? Well, go cry about it.
A lot of people were quick to label me transphobe, despite the fact that I had a black friend, I mean a trans friend.
Imagine being in a relationship with your sister and she only tells you after you're engaged.
What the fuck?
Trans women don't need to tell men they used to be a boy, just like they don't need to tell men they used to be a baby. Disagree? You're transphobic. In my opinion, that doesn't make you transphobic. They're very quick to label you transphobic if you don't love who they prefer.
Hang on a second, let me run that back real quick.
If you don't love
who they prefer.
What he really means is, you can't say you wouldn't want to sleep with a trans girl without giving reason. There are plenty of reasons to be averse to dating someone or sleeping with someone. But if the trans identity itself is what bothers you, that's transphobia. If you sleep with someone, you have no problem with it, and then later find out that they're trans and then become upset with it, that's transphobia. There was nothing about that person that offended you, except for the fact that they were trans.
Like a lot of you watching right now, you probably have a preference in sexual attraction to height, skin color, sometimes hair color, sometimes eye color, gender. You have a sexual preference, but apparently you can't prefer a non-trans person because that makes you transphobic.
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
There's a weird thing in this community where not telling someone you're trans seems to happen a lot.
Okay, first of all, I want to say that this has not been my experience at all. Every time I match with someone on Tinder that's trans, the first thing they do is they message me like in all caps saying like, oh, you know I'm trans, right? And I always laugh because it's like I'm not transphobic, but it's literally dangerous for them to assume so. Trans people get beaten or killed or harassed or whatever for coming out as trans so often that it's always a concern in the back of their mind. Look, do I think trans people should be open and disclose their situation with their partners as soon as possible? Of course. But I think it would be bonkers to ignore like the severity of the threat that they face.
And I understand that it can be out of fear. There's a lot of trans women that I've seen that I'm watching on YouTube who were scared to tell. I saw this a lot more watching other trans videos. A lot of them saying you need to tell as soon as possible, right?
So what's the issue then?
But the one thing I fundamentally disagree with is that I think you should be telling these people before or right at the moment of entering a relationship with them.
Oh, okay. What is the reason under serious threat of violence that someone should have to right up front with every partner they get into a relationship with?
Dating a trans person comes with different difficulties and different situations, and a lot of times it can be harder or at the least very different.
Oh, okay. So this is the part where he's going to outline why there are tangible reasons not to want to date someone trans, like the fact that there are inherent risks to dating someone trans, like you could get harassed or beaten yourself when people find out. Like, that's a pretty serious reason. Like, what? You know what? I'll stop talking. Well, let's see what Wubby says.
It can be harder or at the least very different from dating someone who's not trans. And to not tell that person until you've fallen in love with them is a disservice, and it is fucking wrong.
Oh, great. No reasons, none whatsoever. I'm not like cutting them out of this video. Like, he literally doesn't present any. Well, You know what else is a disservice? You know what else is wrong?
There is growing concern in this country and fear about deadly attacks against transgender Americans.
And according to a 2018 Human Rights Campaign report, there were at least 128 trans people killed in 32 states since 2013.
The car went up in flames. Many people in this community say it was a targeted attack.
A United States Marine was convicted on Tuesday in the Philippines of killing Jennifer Laud after he discovered she was a transgender woman in a hotel while he was on a break in the military.
A transgender woman brutally attacked in Texas last month was found shot and killed over the weekend. Video from April's assault shows several men beating the woman in a Dallas parking lot.
This time it was me, the next time it could be someone else.
Less than a month after speaking out about her attack, Malaysia Booker was found shot to death in a Dallas neighborhood. Although it was flagged as a hate crime, gender identity is not listed under Texas's hate crime statute.
So often they will remain silent. And the data we have is based on the folks who have reported. We don't know about the folks who suffer in silence.
What is the trans panic defense?
It's when a jury is asked to find that the gender or sexual orientation of a victim is the cause for their assault, including their murder. It is not a standalone legal defense, but it's used with other defenses at trial. In these cases, people are assaulted, they're murdered, and their assailant then gets to say, I lost control because of you. I committed these heinous acts because of who you are intrinsically.
And it is fucking wrong.
I get it's scary, I get it's hard, but that's on you because you didn't tell him before you fell in love.
I'm saying it, bud. Look, aside from blaming victims of assault, just skip over that part, it is simply ludicrous to claim that trans women are more safe when they expose themselves. The exact opposite is true.
78% of those surveyed reported harassment during K-12 schooling, 35% reported physical assault, and 12% were sexually assaulted.
A United States Marine was convicted on Tuesday in the Philippines of killing Jennifer Laud after he discovered she was a transgender woman.
The more a trans person exposes their identity, the more they open themselves up to harassment, bullying, assault, getting literally it's insane to imply the opposite.
I would fall in love with whoever I would fall in love with.
Whoever I would fall in love.
Bullshit. Alright, look. Wubby once told me this story on a stream, behind a paywall, of course, where he ghosted someone because he got catfished by them. They didn't turn out to be to his set of standards. And look, the only reason I bring this up is because Wubby's basically admitted that he's the kind of person that can't handle like the confrontation of being catfished. Like he can't say to someone, "I'm sorry, I'm not interested. I'm sorry for wasting your time," and and then leave. He'll just run out on someone. Like he's terrified. And the only reason I bring this up is because I want to talk about the disservice.
It's a disservice and it is fucking wrong.
He's worried that he's gonna meet someone who's trans and they're going to have these characteristics that he's averse to. Not all trans women have penises, but some do, right? He's worried that he's gonna meet up with this girl and she's gonna have a penis, and he's not gonna know how to say, "I'm sorry, you have a penis. I'm sorry I wasted your time. I'm not into penises." He can't. It's that simple, but he can't do that, which it's fine. But that's why he's making these videos. He feels that he would be wronged if he were to be put in that situation. But look, I think if it can save any amount of trans people's lives to not disclose this information, it's worth a couple wubbies getting catfished. That's just where I stand on the matter. Okay, I want to start this section off by talking about something. When I was in like 6th grade, I started wearing skinny jeans to school, and I'd get bullied, right? Like anyone would for anything. And the thing that the bullies would always say is like,
"Oh, you must be a girl if you're gonna wear that. Oh, you must be a girl if you want to have long hair."
And like everyone would laugh and they'd be like,
"Oh wow, solid argument."
as I got older, I noticed that trans women would try and use, look, gender's really complicated, and they would try to use the fact that they had a preference toward particularly feminine things as an example of why they're a particularly feminine person, and suddenly that argument makes no sense. Even though it's the same thing they were getting bullied for before, the same line of thinking, suddenly when it benefits them, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's just so stupid to like being gatekept from using the same argument that was used to bully them to defend themselves. It's literally the same argument, but they're just not allowed to use it, you know what I mean?
All I wanted to do was grow my hair out, wear dresses, play with dolls, wear nail polish. Those are all stereotypes of a stereotypical girl. Why, when you adopt those characteristics, do you have to label yourself as a girl?
You don't. You don't have to. What Nikki's saying isn't the things that she likes makes her a girl. She's saying that it's an early factor as to how she knew. Like what were the early signs of it, right? Like how can you explain to another person your gender identity? Well, here's a good example. I have a particularly fond association with the things associated with that gender. That's a pretty easy way to explain it, right? I think it makes sense.
Shouldn't we take all labels away and say nail polish, dresses, hair, Barbie dolls, and G.I. Joe dolls? That's for whoever wants them, not boy, not girl.
Oh shit, Based Wubby comes out as pansexual, non-binary? No, but seriously, what Wubby's pushing is a thing called gender abolitionism. Not gonna lie, it's pretty based. It's what non-binary pansexual people believe, like me. But this is something that's gonna be a long push. It's not gonna happen overnight. So while there are still gendered items, like while there are still things society ascribes with gender, there are going to be people who relate to those things. I just think it's interesting that he's preaching this when, first of all, it's diametrically opposed to heterosexuality, as well as this whole gender essentialism thing that he was preaching in the last video.
Why can't you just be a boy who likes to wear dresses? Why does that make you a girl?
But if you're so against labels, I have to ask, what's the point in discerning? What's the point in discerning between male or female, born, male, and female gender? It doesn't really matter, right? It's why there are people that feel this way. Labeling anybody anything, then you're not calling someone a girl based on like their haircut or whatever. And you're not gonna get labeled transphobic. Alright, real quick before I ended the video, I wanted to talk about one thing. A lot of people online, I think, fail to realize that this takes like a genuine understanding of gender theory.
She used to be a guy, but now it's a woman. Oh, weird. Are you just saying a woman? I can't even keep up anymore.
Cause it is getting too complicated with all those new genders.
The responsibility is on those of us that truly understand these things to explain it to people, hopefully without being condescending. If for no other reason than they can't use this whole, oh, I just have questions and you're casting me aside.
Labeling me and casting me aside to the undesirable is not going to further the conversation or help in any way.
Thing as like an excuse to just like virtue signal to each other that they don't like trans people.
I think this is where either you're gonna hate me or you're gonna completely understand what I'm saying.
So that they can decide for themselves.
But anyway, that's gonna be it for this video. I wanna make more videos like this in the future, so if you have ideas, go ahead and hit me up in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry for any audio quality. I promise that it won't be like this in the future. Have a blessed day.
Transition, have you given this project a listen? Did you love it? Did you love it? Did you love it? Did you love it?